All right, welcome. We made it back, folks. We have arrived at the analyst desk. Stingers be malfunctioning or no. Welcome, DJ. I know you just had an incredible game there, casting what was a huge pop-off and return to form, I'll say, for who flashed that fight. But I heard your thoughts on how that game went. I want to contribute something of my own there because, as you and I know, I was popping into comms with different teams listening in on what they were saying, and the biggest thing that stood out to me wasn't Donut Maker's scoreline. It was where on earth he was on the map. Because nobody knew. No, nobody had any idea where that Diana was almost the entire game. And it was for both sides with who flashed that fight, constantly sending out their mid laner to roam, not really having a direction for him in that mid game, but it impacted the side lanes in such a substantial way, and I'm surprised, honestly, the game hasn't become about the bot lane, because it's what we hyped up going into it, but it's been about everything else, DJ.
Yeah, it kind of has. And, Stingus was pretty strong in that game at multiple points. But I think, like you said, the difference making really did come from Donut Maker in the mid lane. And I think there was a committed effort in that game to get him out of lane, whether that netted kills or objectives. I think a lot of it could have been to support Baka, honestly, in the jungle clear. Maybe we could ask about it, in the post-game interview. Maybe you're right. Maybe they just had no idea where they wanted Donut Maker to go. They just wanted him to go somewhere to try to make a play. But regardless of whether they did plan it or not, he made a huge difference and did contribute so much into incredible engages to even up the series and set us up here for a deciding game 3. Who's going to take home the majority of the points here today, Dia? We are about to find out.
Yeah, and the draft has set us up perfectly so far. So far, though, it has been these engaged compositions that are winning more often than not, so I wonder who decides to take that route this time. As Glaive, they're going to end up locking in that Galio instantly, maybe repeating game 1.
Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty much exactly like game 1. Jado's Thresh banned away. This time, no Nocturne, though, available to pile onto that Galio, something that McShootums was very good on in game number 1. So who flashed that fight, making adjustments here back on red side. The Rumble ban is the same, but they get right back on that Seraphine. So clearly they've identified something that worked for them, and it didn't seem to give the Tooper a lot of problems, even with that Braum next to him. Could not escape those long-range ultimates between Seraphine and Misfortune. We'll see if they just do go right back to the MF. I'm not sure how effective that will be against Gallia, but no, it's Donut Maker. Why not? Like, after that performance, just give it right back to him. Run it back.
I'm a big fan of this Diana lock-in, and I want to see what Glaive end up picking here, but, we said who's going to take the engaged composition? It might just be both of them in an all-out brawl, given how the draft has developed so far. If Kindred gets picked up, though, it's a lot of really valuable counter-engage to these layered CCs and damage that Diana and Seraphine can put out, so Glaive are playing reactively. They're playing with respect after having gone down that game.
And I like the Kindred. Of course, anyone who's seen Ellis's tier list coming out, this thing is so highly prized by him. And I know that it's very highly prized by Stingus as well. He is very hype on the champion, but he's going to have to play against it this time around as it is locked in for Glaive. It can be flexed these days, ladies and gentlemen. So depending on how comfy Glaive is feeling with this pick, we could see it in a solo lane. Of course, most likely it still ends up in the jungle here for McShootums as they go right back to the Ezreal for the Tooper. Basically, the same strategy looking to be here for Glaive from game number 1 to game number 3. There will be some differences, of course, as they don't have that Nocturne to fly in over the top. Instead, a lot more focus potentially on the damage that could be provided by this Kindred.
Yeah, and this is really interesting here because by locking in Kindred and Ezreal at the same time, Glaive have essentially said that they don't want early game dragons. They're not playing around it. And with a Sejuani locking on the other side, it gives you a lot of flexibility for who flashed that fight to go, what do we want to run? What do we want to bring to the team fights later? Because realistically, bot lane isn't going to be a problem. We can play this neutral, we can look elsewhere, and get these dragons stacking up as a side win condition. Because remember last game, Ocean Soul was no joke.
Yeah, Ocean Soul was not a joke. That was incredibly strong there at the end of the game. So I do really like the answers here from who flashed that fight. Again, I think they probably kind of expected Glaive to go back because it did work very well for Glaive in game one, putting Tupper on the Ezreal, letting Jado just go nuts, holding McShootham's hand, excuse me, throughout that entire first game to very good effect. Baka was pretty far behind. He was shot out of his jungle on multiple occasions, and it did set up McShootham's to be a big contributor later on, picking off Donut Maker multiple times. A little bit harder to pick off Donut Maker, maybe on a Diana once again this time around, but the same concept will apply. Keep your eyes on Jado to roam, and I'll be fascinated to see what they do give Giga and Puffles here to try to kind of have a similar effect and get back to the winning ways of game number one. But first, we have to see what Who Flashed That Fight is going to blind. I know we saw the Orianna R5 last time, Deanna. We weren't happy about it, but it can't happen this time, I don't think.
Just pick it R4. It's I guess you can't because you have the Dynamo. The Kog'Maw I actually don't hate here because Glaive don't have a whole lot of dive yet, and this is actually a really interesting pickup that forces Glaive to try and take an aggressive approach or lose in the long run.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The Kindred here, pretty short range unless you can get a ton of stacks, wants to play reactively. And so if you do draft dive, right, how does that kind of work? Kindred is a champion that wants to play back, that wants to kite back or save her teammate. She's not going to be able to dive in with something like a Wukong. So if you have Seraphine to peel that away, maybe if you get one more shielding champion, like if you can slot a Karma in here, something like a Karma top or something, you could definitely make life very, very difficult. And a Kog'Maw, of course, is going to outscale nearly everything in the game. So this is a very fascinating scenario for Glaive now to answer. What do they do here to try to disrupt this pick after banning Misfortune away to stop the Misfortune Seraphine lane?
You could try and go like Karma Camille or something to try and cover all your bases, get a little bit of dive in there. Anything really feels like it's not winning for Glaive. They've got to have something to answer this Kog'Maw. What on earth is happening in the draft? Why are we at 0 time left to pick with no pick? Okay, cool. So draft crashed, but I assume we'll be restarting. I'm going to wait on confirmation for that. We'll be restarting from what we already have. Is that correct, production? Okay.
Well, yeah. Either way, we can talk about the rest of the league while we do wait around.
Go ahead.
Well, we can start off. Looks like we've had a couple of interesting game matches here, Dia. So if we look at the first two, I'll highlight these ones. We had a couple FFs here in week one of Heavy League. So Gamers for God actually come up with a 3-0 over Sparta Prime, who FF game 2 and 3 with a substitute not able to be found in time. So that's a bit of a ripperino. We also have a 3-0 win for Lotus here in week one over their opponent's Orbital Void, who FF'd their game 2 and 3 as well. So bit of a rough start here for attendance. Attendance is important, kids. Do go to all your classes, pay attention to your teachers, and maybe you won't go 3-0 in week 0-3 in week one or 2.
I think showing up is really important. I do want to say that we at least know that Gamers for God can take the one game, as that first one wasn't FF'd. LKB Lemon are going up against YO Boomers and winning right now, as I expected YO Boomers to actually have a pretty good week one, and they seem to have fallen behind a little bit, and we've got one more reschedule as well. So actually, this is exactly the series that we wanted to be streaming. This is where the most action is to be had.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, man. There basically hasn't been another series here tonight, Dia. We'll have a conclusion to that LBK Lemon YO Boomer series, and we'll see if the Boomers can take game 3. But yeah, certainly the closest series of the night. We have been very fortunate to have these two teams, but of course, there was no way we couldn't start the season off. You know how it goes. The NBA, the NFL, you always want to take the finalists and pit them right back against each other. There's always bad blood in the water after someone gets slaughtered in the final game of the season.
There is. And going back to what we have here, in front of us. That bad blood is going to conclude one way or another. Glaive's in a bit of a tough spot right now, and we talked about that a little bit. Who flashed that fight? They do have to play more around Sting here, or so I presumed. Would you say that this is a Kog'Maw-centric composition?
Oh, I think if you pick Kog'Maw, it kind of has to be a Kog'Maw-centric composition. I don't really think you get a choice. Like that's sort of the concept behind the champion. You know, it has needed a partner for basically as long as it has existed. Really likes enchanters, of course, and Seraphine does sort of fit that bill. Something that can shield you, provide some sort of healing, keep people off you because you are so immobile, you are so incredibly squishy, but man, oh man, do you dish out damage the later the game goes. And itemization, stats right now, lane matchups are incredibly beneficial for this Kog'Maw at the moment, and you have a good team fight comp to play around you. Diana and Sejuani can engage. You can follow up with damage from long range with that artillery cannon on the ultimate. You've got extra range on your W. You've got a slow field on the E. Like, I agree with you. I think this R4 pick, honestly, right now, we'll have to see what Glaive does pick against it. They've been given some extra time.
So yeah, they've
actually
ended up going on without us, without the glitchy website. And B4, B5, where Silas and Mundo responded to with a set. Now, what do you make of that?
Silas and Mundo. So I do like the Silas pick a bit here because it gives you a chance to steal the Diana ulti and the Sejuani ult, or even the Seraphine ult away, and really disrupt the backline for Kog'Maw. That being said, I don't think it's enough, Dia. I agree with you. I honestly, I look at this draft, and we did have set R5 here locked in against what I imagine is a top lane Silas, probably.
We're gonna find out.
We lost the draft.
We're gonna end up finding out here. It is top lane set.
Top lane Mundo. Okay, so top lane set against Mundo. I do really like set into Mundo. We've seen set picked up by Viper in Proving Grounds. A lot of top laners will specifically pick set into tank matchups because he does extremely well into them, and also gets a huge ulti target later on in the game with that Kindred in mid, Kindred in jungle, Silas in mid. Yeah, I got to be honest here, Dia. I think this Kog'Maw R4 is kind of a masterstroke. I just think they caught Glaive a little bit with their hand in the cookie jar with that Kindred, because now you have a composition, like you said, that needs to run some disruption onto Kog'Maw to win fights later on in the game, and they can't really do it. They sort of have a split idea of how to do that. I think ultimately what they're going to try to do is just run disruption with a Seraphine ultimate and try to kite back, or even potentially, more importantly, just kill him a ton of times in the early game. Because I look at these two comps, and with an Ezreal as your AD carry, unless Kindred gets giga fed here, I don't see how you win late game team fights against this Kog'Maw.
Yeah, it really does feel like it comes down to what McShootums is going to do in those first 8 to 10 minutes of the game, where we're going to see the Kindred, whether they're picking up marks or not, and whether Stingus is being put behind. Because the later that the game goes, like you say, this Kog'Maw really can start to take off, and Glaive do have limited options to disrupt the backline outside of that Silas, who has the chance to step up into Donut Maker. A big playmaker last game. The Silas was picked up after the Diana. Maybe this is the counter matchup that Glaive are looking for.
Yeah, maybe it is. We'll have to see what Puffles can do. He does have a lot of good ultis to use, right? Whether it's in the team fights or it's in the 1v1, right? He can steal Diana's ult away. That'll be great. He can steal Sedge's ult for pick. He can steal Seraphine's ult, be really nice. Even Set's ult can be really good in the side lane if he's matched up with the Set. So I think there's a lot of options for Puffles, a lot of outplay potential. But again, I just think the comp is a little weird here for Glaive, because I don't think it answers the big problem. And I'm kind of looking in chat, and I actually kind of agree. I'm interested to maybe hear Glaive's, if we do get an interview with them at some point, explanation of why Gangplank maybe wasn't selected here to run extra disruption. Because honestly, yeah, Mundo's a great tank, but Kog'Maw shreds tanks, like just destroys them in the later stages of the game. So I still really struggle to see a win condition for Glaive Esports Onyx beyond 25 minutes. So I am looking at McShootums, at Puffles to get lane prio and go down to that bottom lane and murder this Kog'Maw over and over again. Or I think you face a really, really tricky and precarious situation later on.
This game, to me, I love that you boil it down to McShootums and Puffles on Glaive Onyx, and I'm going to boil it down to Donut Maker and Stingus on the other side. Can these cornerstones of their respective teams actually butt up against each other in this game? Will Glaive be able to take advantage of the weak early game of Stingus? Who's to say? The only thing that we can do is throw it to a very short break before we get into the game so that you and Necrox can find out for us. We'll see you then.
Welcome back, everyone and all. It is time for Game 3, the final game of the evening between the top two here at Excellency Heavy. It is Week 1, Game 3. I am Necrox, of course, joined by DJ, and draft happened. The Kog'Maw R4 was so good, apparently, it decided to crash the whole website. And we got a Silas Mundo with a set all in response, but McShootums has gone a little bit too far here, maybe a little bit too big for his britches, has thrown down the wolf. Baka's on the chase. A cleaver to the face will deny any more follow-up, but already a pretty spicy level 1 with an even spicier Kog'Maw skin.
Yeah, the Beamon there. Stingus, I approve. Good skin choice. Good skin choice. I had a 50-50 guess earlier when I was asking him which skin he liked more, and I think I got it right. So love the Beemaw skin and love the Kog'Maw pick there at R4, Necrox. As you were alluding to, I don't really know if Glaive's composition has an answer here. Maybe there is something I'm not seeing. If they win the game, I'm sure they'll have a chance to tell us, what the concept is here. And I'll be fascinated to figure out what it is, because Kog'Maw shreds tanks, and Mundo was picked B4 into that Kog'Maw. And looking at this composition, unless McShootums gets a ton of stacks here in the early game, just a crap ton of priority from his lanes, I don't see how they really win this game. There is just a Kog'Maw inevitability in this game that you just cannot overcome. He's with the Seraphine in lane, which should keep him mostly just fine. And it's going to be hard even to dive or kill him because you picked an Ezreal early. So how do you really get on top of this carry here that Stingus has picked up for himself at R4? We'll have to find out as the game progresses, because I do think the win condition for them is killing this Kog'Maw in fights.
Yeah, that and don't get flanked by Donut Maker and get triple killed in 1R button. I think if you can manage those two, the game feels pretty good. But Donut Maker on last game, the flanks were just so incredible. Have to be so wary with that vision game. And we were talking about how Donut Maker left lane a lot earlier on in game 2. Because of the matchup and pre-6, it can be a little rough. Because of it, the lack of vision really cost them. Puffles will be cost his flash here as Baka shows up pre his bot side clear, and will get an early summoner off of the mid lane. Puffle's looking to trade something back, but really there's nothing there.
Yeah, and Baka already trying to make an impact, and does make a positive impact on a matchup that has gone both ways tonight. Game number 1, Puffle's really, really good on that Zoe, creating so much havoc for who flashed that fight throughout the match. But game 2 was all about Donut Maker. Puffles had all the CS on the Cassiopeia, had all of the power, nearly 3 items, and just couldn't get enough done. Proving the prophecy I had true about the Stone Gaze maybe not being enough to hold back Donut Maker. He had an incredible game too. He's back on a comfort pick here, and Puffles will need to step up once again to shut this carry down. Does have to do it now, though, without his flash, as Baka has already intervened. And here we go.
Baka's intervening once more. There's the stun onto Puffles, but Donut Maker is just as low, if not a little bit lower. Baka now having to use that Q to get himself away. Donut Maker trying to interrupt the damage that was pouring through. They're both so low, and it's first blood to McShootums. Onto the enemy mid laner. Baka tried, but Baka failed, and McShootums cleans it up.
Yeah, nice 2v2 in the mid lane, and first blood to McShootums. That is huge. An early stack onto this Kindred, I do believe there. And honestly, I think a little greedy of Donut Maker not to flash there. It's still available. He could have gotten away. The flash not up for McShootums, and kept that stack away, kept first blood out of the hands of Glaive. But it is McShootums getting off to a great early start, which we talked about he needed to do here to make this game happen. And look at Dokdo. Love that, stepping in the way of the Mystic shot there for Stingus. Good guy support here, Dokdo, as usual.
Dokdo on the Seraphine last game also had an absolute cracker of a game, so fully expect some on course from him as he sings us maybe to sleep here in our final game of the evening, as Dokdo doing everything he can to protect Stingus from the 2v2. Meanwhile, Donut Maker looking to make the play here in mid, but McShootums is lurking right behind that wall, just barely tucked away out of vision. Puffles now wants to make something happen with his jungler, and look at the execution, DJ. No kill to be found, but it was so close. McShootums and Puffles in week 1 look like they've been working together for absolutely ages.
Yeah, that was nice coordination there, but Donut Maker does survive by the skin of his teeth, and so I can at least give him a slight forgiveness, like a 2 out of 10 forgiveness here for not burning the flash earlier when he did go down for first blood, because he does stay alive. If he had died there, Necrox, I would have been so upset at that flash being used just to die a second time, but he does manage to dissuade the gank. That gives some extra time here for Baka, gives some extra time for the bottom lane to farm. They've got the wave in a great spot here for Stingus. Again, honestly, the longer this game goes, the less that happens. I think the better for who flashed that fight. So any time earned, any objective slowed down is good stuff for who flashed that fight.
And this is a new pick. This is a new carry that has sort of arrived into the meta unforeseen. Kog'Maw for Stingus this game really can just lay down the damage. We already talked about in draft. I don't want to start being repetitive here, but again, there's just not a lot of tools to deal with the backline damage. Baka, meanwhile, on bot side, will secure first Drago, which means this Kog'Maw come later on. If they can get a couple more of those Drakes, we'll have the rest of the team walking into him, and that's Stingus's dream this game.
Yeah, that's honestly great work on tempo there by Baka. Picking up a free first Drake as the recall, I believe, is called out there as McShootums goes back. And again, we talked about the eventuality of the Kog'Maw. If you want to stack Drakes now, as Glaive Esports Onyx, it's just an extra 5 minutes that you have to spend to get to Soul. So a really nice early play here for Baka to take that objective away. And again, it's just more time for Stingus as trading coming in topside. Look at McShootums, though.
Masochism gonna be pumped down for Giga's healing up quite a lot. Can take this turret, has to flash, immediately forced out of Giga, but one cleaver to the back will slice him up like a piece of deli meat. And now it's a return play from Puffles, but just not nearly enough damage. And look who it is roaming up mid. It's Dokdo grabbing himself a kill.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there that Dokdo takes that one away instead of leaving it for either Donut Maker or Stingus. Will make the play a little less worthwhile, but it is a nice return play as the gank does go into top side there. And honestly, that was brilliantly played by Giga in that top side, knowing he could get flashed on, saving the flash for the showstopper from Dusk to Dawn, immediately flashing away right afterwards. Doesn't take more than one turret shot and can just finish him off before the shield does come out. So beautiful play from Giga to pick up that kill. Fortunately, doesn't go on to McShootums. I would like to, in a minute here, get a look at how many stacks McShootums does have. Of course, that is a huge number there on the marks for the Kindred. We'll have to keep an eye on how many it is, as this Rift Herald is being prioritized now for who flashed that fight.
Yeah, Dokdo once again feels comfortable roaming across the map as Baka is just going to play zone control here, but the Rift Herald indeed did reset, so no prize at all. Shelly will just go back to hibernation. Baka versus McShootums, Smite fight. It goes the way of McShootums as he takes his own blue buff.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a very nice play here for Glaive, and I'm not sure if the Rift was a denial there from who flashed that fight, but it's a lot of time wasted. Hold on here, the ulti coming out.
The ulti from Puffles will find us to Dawn. Here's a play as well from Donut Maker, gonna go in. Puffles is gonna drop, and here comes the Lamb's Respite to keep a couple members alive. McShootums and Giga are here. They just don't have any damage, and that's gonna be Jado falling over, falling down. Giga's trying to get something back. Baka's gonna get it with one more swing of the gavel, and a clean win there. 4-0 for who flashed that fight.
Oh no, and Jado died to Stingus on the bottom side. This is disaster for Glaive Onyx Necrox. They were killing time. They were forcing Stingus off his bottom lane turret. That's why I was questioning the play for who flashed that fight, because, you know, Kog'Maw is not an Ezreal. You can't just leave him alone and expect him to survive. Easily diveable, so he has to back off. He loses a full wave, and they don't even get the Rift Herald out of it. They're not even going to get it again here, as too low here is Baka. But the fight just goes so well for them. It looks decent, but they overcommit onto Dusk to Dawn, who's got the healing from his passive, who's got the shielding from the W there. And a miscommunication or something after the first kill goes down, McShootums has to pop his ulti, and he saves Dusk. That allows all of the follow-up damage and CC to come through. They get the 3-0 on the top side, and Stingus gets a kill onto Jado in the bottom. That is a massive mistake there from Glaive.
Catastrophic to give away that kind of gold at this point, especially in a block of 3 in game 3 when you're really looking not necessarily for a series win, but to close out the night positive. And with that, it's Puffles, McShootums, Giga all now set significantly behind their opponents. Giga doing fine up here, going to be wailing on this turret, getting a couple plates for himself, piling up that gold, but Just Adon not building the Bork will make this matchup not as good for him. I know Dio wanted to see that come out, as you really often do see the Bork come into these higher HP targets, can start doing that max HP pulled back, and the Iron Spike Whip just doesn't do nearly as much.
Yeah, I don't think it does as much in the matchup that they're having, but again, I don't think the side lane is where Who Flash That Fight needs to focus. Like, does Dusk to Dawn really need to be their win condition in this game with a Diana, with a Kog'Maw? I think he just needs to be tanky, so I can understand the choice, but oh boy, look at the play from Puffles.
Donut Maker, those were some of the hottest moves I've seen in the mid lane. The man gets engaged on by one, he hops to the other, ults for some distance, and pieces out, somehow escaping the play set up by McShootums and Puffles. That's twice now that he should have been locked down, and he slips away.
Yeah, and he's got TP, so he's just going to come in here. This should guarantee the second Drake. There's no TPs on top side. I don't know how you fight this if you are Glaive. You can see they want no part of it. They back off as this wave is pushed under turret by Dusk to Dawn, and that's already 2 now for Who Flash That Fight. They are going to be feeling great here, up 600 gold with that Kog'Maw scaling up 2 Drakes in their back pocket. This is great stuff, and a lot of it coming off of Donut Maker, absorbing pressure and escaping these ganks from McShootums.
Yeah, and really, DJ, we've been waiting to see a mid laner to make this kind of difference in matches. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer as Stingus is getting engaged on. There's the taunt, there's the exhaust all on to Stingus. Everything's gonna drop on him, and Tooper has gotten the 2v2 kill. Traded back though by the Kog'Maw, going 1-for-1 on this kind of matchup is just so volatile. Both these marksmen are going to scale into infinity and beyond, but Sting is certainly happy with the gold now as Donut Maker. No way he gets out of this one. No way he escapes again. Here comes Baka to the rescue, and McShootums going to have to drop the Lamb's Respite. McShootums now very low. Puffles looking for the kill. Donut Maker may be able to trade one back, but no, this time they get him. Baka's here, but Dustin's on, trying to run down the lane, but Giga's running him down now as Baka's gonna go low, but not gonna drop just quite yet. It's McShootums to fall. 3 members now chasing this Sejuani. A leap through the bush will take him to safety. But Donut, how did you last that long?
Man, oh man, Necrox, if they turned that, if Donut Maker turned that, I would have crowned him MVP of Heavy League on day 1. Just done. Over and done with. That would have been insane. Fortunately for Glaive, McShootums does have some fancy feet coming out of the Lamb's Respite, picks up the kill, and gets help from Giga, who is ahead in that top lane with the Chem Tank already finished there. So they do win out on the skirmish in topside, and if I could get a check from production on how many stacks McShootums has, I would really like to know here at the 14-minute mark. He has been involved in a good amount here. Not sure exactly what he is at the moment, but it is critical that he get to 4 as soon as possible to be relevant in this game. Does have the Kraken Slayer completed already, but you can see Baka did a lot of damage kind of on his own there. 3-0-2 on this Sejuani with the Sunfire. Already very, very tanky in this game. So again, watch that Sejuani getting tankier. Watch this Kog'Maw getting stronger as this game goes on. 2 Drakes still in their favor, and the gold dead even still looks like a favorable position for Who Flashed That Fight.
Yeah, the grudge match that was set up tonight, DJ, between these two teams. The reigning champions of last split and the reigning champions of the one before that. They're going at it blow for blow. And here's Donut Maker once again. He may be making them, but he's certainly eating them. The man is fed on this Diana.
Yeah, he is. And greedy pathing there by McShootums gets himself and his mid laner punished. Now Shirelli's coming in. Tooper is already so low. He's just going to die.
Tooper may just drop. It's 1-for-1. Finally, they get that shutdown off of Stingus. Feels good. Dokdo trying to run away from Jado. Will be fine just to walk out of the play. But Tooper and Stingus again going 1-for-1. I'm not sure that you want that, though. We were talking about how dangerous this Kog'Maw can be. He just feels like he's more efficient with gold, especially in the 5v5 that we have.
Yeah, I do agree, and I gotta give some credit to Jado, man. He is coming up so huge with these taunts onto Stingus because it looked for all the world like Tooper was just going to die instantaneously. And if he dies, so does Jado. He has peeled Stingus so many times, but they still keep trading. And like you said, Necrox, gold. Oh no, McShoot'em.
Shoot'em's kiting his way around. There's a stun, but nice chains from Puffles. But McShoot'em's just falls over, and the charm just does nothing. Donut's looking for more, gonna go a little bit low. Here comes Jado over the top with a hero's entrance to keep Puffles alive for a little bit longer. That's a nice hop forward from Tupor to find Dokdo in the back end of the play. Here comes Justin Don with the TP. He's already got one on the Puffles. He has arrived on the valuable carries. He's arrived on the critical team fight, and Giga's flashing forward. Giga's gonna trade his life out, but Stingus gets himself a double. His jaw has just turned into trouble as he's spitting artillery from long range. Dust to dawn. Absolutely smurfs the fight. Stingus cleats it up, and who flashed that fight rolls over Glaive one more time.
Yeah, great TP by Dust from Dawn. He gets in on the flank, and Tooper had already used his arcane, oh wow, I'm blanking on the spell there. Arcane shift, thank you. He'd already used his arcane shift in the fight. He didn't even get a chance to flash as he was silenced, and look what spawns for who flashed that fight. It is the third Drake. Baka gonna take that one away, and now they are on Soul Point with a 5k gold lead and a fed Kog'Maw. 5 kills. You saw how low HP he was when Giga came in. Well, guess what? 3 autos just murdered Giga, and Giga is pretty fed here. 3 kills, 142 CS. That is what happens when Kog'Maw reaches the 25-minute mark. When he reaches these items, he shreds tanky members. Now, Dokdo, is he going to escape this? Might have to flash.
Tags the
flash.
Slow.
Okay,
as Shirelia's will be just fine in mid. And DJ, man, we're going to keep going back to it, but these two teams deserve this trophy, or at least they both feel it after maybe feeling a little bit robbed. VBO now, who flashed that fight this season, didn't like the result they came out with, and really coming with a vengeance tonight, showing lots of looks, lots of plays, and have been all over the Rift, coordinated together. Donut Maker in mid seems to be working out absolutely incredibly. Baka's always there. Man is 5-0 as we speak, has no deaths in game 3. As Trooper hops forward once more, looking for anything. McShoot'ems is just getting bullied out. This is not your jungle, man. Giga's arrived, though. Now they're looking to turn the play onto Baka, who simply charges his way back to safety, and Rift Herald may be the target as McShoot'ems and Giga rotate that way.
Yeah, see, that's a really bad sign there, Necrox, when your carry jungler is 1-4 with 1 item and does absolutely 0 damage to the enemy jungler with 4 auto attacks. I just got the update on the stack count for McShoot'ems here at 20 minutes. It's 2.
That's not good. That's not nearly enough. You need 4 for the range and really to be considered impactful. Beyond that, your champion can become, a very important marksman. It's debatable if 4 is enough to match a Kog'Maw. At this point, I'm going to go with no, just because of how fed Stingus is. He will just rip through Glaive. Only has 2 items, just finished that Hurricane. Once we get to 3, whatever it is, Quick Blades, IE, and what else? I mean, there's so many builds Stingus can take, but I don't think McShoot'ems has enough. They're going to have to outplay this team fight. You're looking at members like Puffles to somehow find disruption, maybe a miracle flank like last game or even game number 1.
Yeah, but I mean, it has been a great series here, Necrox. I think you've been alluding to it. You've been talking about it, but I'm looking at this game, and for the first time all series between these two teams, I really struggle to see a way back in here, but we're going to have to hold on as Dustin Dawn might be in trouble.
Dustin Dawn finds his way out and somehow just drops McShoot'ems in the process. Easiest pass for a kill. There's the Encore. Cleansed away by Tooper. And Jado's in the middle of everyone. A massive taunt. There's the exhaust on everyone. But Dustin Dawn's in a killing spree. And look who it is. Free fire in the back line. He has dropped my jaw. He has no flaws. He leaves Glaive in awe. And it's Stingus on Kog'Maw. It's 4-0 in the fight. And who flashed that fight gets themselves a 4-0.
We've been telling you all game. We've been telling you all night. This is an eventuality. It is not an if. It is a when. And when is now. Stingus has arrived with 2 items. Honestly, a beautiful flash in from Jado. Taunts up 4 members. We talked about you need to get disruption onto Stingus. That's your disruption, but guess what? He still has flash. He just flashes away from the follow-up damage, and once that's expended, there's nothing that can get to him. It's the easiest front-to-back fight you could ever dream of as a Cogmind. Yes, Dust to Dawn gets the triple kill. He picks up all the kills. All the damage there is done by Stingus. It's a beautiful fight from Who Flashed That Fight, and they take full control of this game, up nearly 10k gold, Dragon Soul spawning in 30 seconds, and again, I do not see how you win a fight here if you are Glaive Esports Onyx.
Revenge, aggression, and kings reclaiming their throne. That is the narrative tonight. Dusk beats up on Giga as he has to pop the ulti and the flash to get out. And now we're at Seoul. It is game 3 and week 1 in Excellency Heavy. I've seen teams turn around these types of deficits before, but man, oh man, is it so unlikely. Baka hopping away. The chains barely don't connect there from Puffles. Some more long-range living artillery from Stingus, but look who's on the flank. It's Dust to Dawn looking to put this game to bed as a turret has been dropped in mid. They don't care about the dragon. They don't care that McShootums has secured it. They're going for the base, and this positioning is not where you want to be. They'll finally pull away. Who Flashed That Fight? Now on the run as they get what they came for. They have dropped so many turrets now as they take a 3-turret lead.
Yeah, just a smart decision here from Who Flashed That Fight. They know they've got time on their side. Again, they don't need to take a 5v5 here for a Drake that means nothing to Glaive Esports Onyx. It honestly doesn't here. They didn't have great positioning. They didn't have flash on Stingus, so they just say, okay, you want to group us 5 for this Drake to stop us from getting Soul? Well, I guess we just get the rest of the map. Donut Maker has TP. Dust to Dawn is TP. They don't need to be there. They run into the side lanes. They take turrets down. Puffles is expending an ulti there away from anybody. And yeah, they take multiple turrets. Like you said, they're going to take one in top 2. They're just picking up standing gold. They're busting down the turrets. And like I said, Necrox, as soon as Stingus gets this flash back up here, about a quarter of the cooldown left, they will feel comfortable to fight, and I think it might be the last fight here. Who Flashed That Fight completely set up here to take their revenge on opening night of Heavy League Summer.
It is the opening night and an opening series to start things off. It's been incredible to witness these two teams go at it, but Who Flashed That Fight now are on the victory march. They have Baron, they have 3 Drakes to their name. Dust to Dawn taking this win on the side as well as the rest of the team pushing down top. Here comes one more wave. You can see Puffles trying to keep it away from the turret as long as possible. And Giga trying to do the same here in bot. McShootums hopping back over the wall. The wave has now expired along with the Baron buff. Glaive have held on and done enough as they do not lose a single turret or inhibitor in their base.
Yep, they don't lose any of their base there, Necrox, but again, I don't know how much it's really gonna matter. Who Flashed That Fight can just play this tutorial style. They can just play incredibly slow. Look at all the wards they have in the enemy jungle. This Kindred is not on 4 stacks yet. How are you ever going to get a mark if your jungle does not even belong to you? You're never going to be a factor in this game, unfortunately, unless you find some sort of miracle fight or pick. But Who Flashed That Fight is just making sure that's not going to happen. They're crossing their T's, they're dotting their I's, they're making sure there is no miracle shot here for Glaive. They're up 10k gold. The next Drake's in 2 minutes. The next Baron's in 2 minutes. And again, one big fight could be the end. They want to get on to Stingus here. Seraphine ult's taken away, but they don't even feel comfortable to do that.
They just can't pull the trigger. They're too scared. They know exactly what you said. If they lose one fight, one mistake, one opportunity lost, and that's game over. And with Soul up in 2 minutes, losing Summoners now impacts your chances at taking away Soul from Who Flashed. Now it's exactly the same team, Who Flashed, looking to take away red buff. They have it, no problem. Trying maybe to pass this one to Stingus, but they just can't give it into him in time. Dusk will secure that one away.
Stingus already has one.
Oh, they didn't even need
He has
it.
a red buff. He has a red buff. They were waiting to give it to Dusk because Stingus already has it.
All right, Dusk, that one's for you, my friend. Soul in 80 seconds. Again, I've seen teams turned around these deficits before. It felt the same way in playoffs last season, but this one, again, it always feels so unlikely, so uncomfortable to make that call. And Glaive trying to do their best to set up for as much positioning on this as possible. Dokdo forced to flash from an encore in mid.
Yeah, I think that's a smart flash. I mean, look where your members are. 2 in a side lane, going for the 1-3-1 here. That's a good ulti by Puffles. Again, taking the shots. Oh, Tooper, run for your life, buddy.
Oh, Tooper's already so low, but Stingus now wants to flash out of the way. Here comes Baka with the reinforcements. He's thrown down the glacier. Below, the heal barely keeping him alive. Almost a Kog'Maw dropping. It was so close to getting the kill, but Stingus somehow survives. Double summoners off the Kog'Maw is absolutely massive. Infinity Edge completed. All eyes on this floating B come Soul fight.
Yeah, honestly, Stingus getting a little aggressive there. Thought he had Tooper. Tooper had Cleanse, which gave him a little bit extra move speed, I believe, because of his runes. And that almost got Stingus to overcommit. Now TP's coming in. Here could be the fight.
Giga's running real fast, gonna be pulled back by a face breaker. Dust to Dawn, looking to make it the game ender, as that's Puffles going golden along with Donut Maker on the top side of the fight. McShootums is gonna be dropped. Baka's dominating.
Stingus?
The man is 6-0-11 on the Sejuani, and there's no jungler left alive. They don't worry about Soul. It's time for the base.
I think they probably could worry about Soul. They're probably going to take an inhibitor and fall back to it as this turret does fall. Nice stuff from Dust to Dawn.
Giga's gonna be stunned up, and Baka is godlike on this Sejuani. New jungler for sure, but mid-league junglers do not surpass. Inhibitor has been dropped. Sting is doing his best to clear the way. Dust to Dawn taken very low. It's soul secured by Donut Maker in the back end of the fight, which provides a little more regen while this thing shakes
Stingus.
out.
Oh,
And Stingus
Stingus.
is on a rampage. He cannot be stopped. They won their last fight. It was their right back to the throne, and they send Glaive into the night. Who flashed that fight will take week 1 2-1.
All right, Dr. Seuss going to wrap up our first series here as Who Flashed That Fight get their revenge from the finals and open Excellency Heavy League Summer with a 2-1 win over their title rivals, Glaive, Esports, Onyx. Yes, it is only week 1. Yes, this will not matter for play. Well, it will matter for seeding and stuff later for playoffs, but it is not the end of the world here. But this is going to feel so good to open for Who Flashed That Fight.
What a series to start it all out. We could go into the deep analysis. We could break it all down. That's not our job, or at least not mine. You have that ahead of you on the analyst test, but I just got to say, week 1 for Heavy, this is above and beyond my expectations where teams are supposed to be. This level of coordination, this level of team play came about midway through the split last season. Now we're already at that level. Excellency Heavy is just going to the moon. I feel it in my bones, DJ, that players like Stingus, players like Donut Maker, and new members like McShootums who have graduated from mid, they all have their shining moments, and this season is just going to be incredible. With that, though, we will send it to the analyst desk where you can give me all your thoughts along with Dia as we get ready for our post-game interview. We'll be right here with our analyst desk in literally about 30 seconds.